Hey y'all, it's Shamira here. So I just want to hop in to give a quick warning and also kind of an apology because the audio for this podcast is not giving. I don't know what happened to my microphone. I thought maybe if I mess around with the settings, I could fix it from the last episode, but that's not what happened here. The audio is just, it sounds super muffled and super like crunchy. So I'm going to apologize for that in advance, but rest assured I have a new microphone coming. So hopefully for the next episode, we will be back on track with quality audio and quality content, point blank period. But in the meantime, just stick with me for this episode because I really do enjoy this one and I hope you enjoy it too. Thank you. Bye. Microphone check 1 2 1 2. Mic check. Oh wait, I don't think that was it. Microphone check 1 2 1 2. Microphone check for season 1, episode 2 of the Realer Than Real pod.
Realer Than Real.
Hello everyone, welcome back.
Realer Than Real.
You guys, it's season 2 of the Realer Than Real pod. I am your host. Wait, let me actually do my real intro. I feel like I should have a different intro though for season 2. Should I not? Let me see what I can think of really quick. Let me see. No, I like my original intro better. Let's do it. He's, she's, gays, and theys. Welcome back to the Realer Than Real pod. I am your host and your season 2 best friend, Shamira. Sometimes in this world we keep things real. We keep things very real, but on this podcast right here, we keep things realer than real. It's so nice to see you guys back here for season 2. How are y'all feeling? There's something about, not that this is a TV show, but like in my mind, I guess it is. There's something about, I love like a classic season 2 of like a sitcom to where, you know, like all of the actors on the show, like they say things like, we really needed that vacation, or like they treat the season breaks between the show as like an unwritten in vacation of the show. I don't know. There's something about that I just love. I just love like classic TV. And in the realm of classic TV, I really want season 2 of the Realer Than Real pod to like, I want it to feel very much like season 2. So I have some ideas for editing. I'm hoping that when I'm editing this episode, you all will be able to like see some really cool editing things that I came up with in my mind. I mean, not really cool, but just different. I think that doing or calling my seasons, like, okay, how am I trying to say this? I think that breaking up my podcast into seasons kind of gives me a chance to, one, take a break when I need it, and I absolutely needed this most recent break. I might talk about what's been going on with me in a little bit, but it gives me a chance to take a break, and it also gives me a chance to like come back and like, you know, try out some different things. Maybe with editing, maybe I want to do a new theme song, maybe I want to like create certain segments and things like that. It gives me a chance to constantly level up, because that's what I feel like people do in TV shows, you know, like every season the show gets better. Of course, there's always one season that like the entire fandom just agrees that like is not the best season. We don't acknowledge it, but like I'm really hoping that it will give me a chance to like level up. Is the light doing something weird in the corner, the LED light? It is. Why is it doing that? You guys, I'm so sorry. Wait. Let's try and fix this on camera, because I just realized it's like doing some weird thing. Is it because the brightness is down, you think? Okay, well, that remote isn't working. Hold on. We got to figure it out, you guys. It was just because okay, so for season 2, I tried to turn it down so that like it could give like more of a nighttime feel, because obviously I post a podcast hopefully every Thursday night at 7:00 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. But it would appear that that's going to be a problem. And now I feel like that corner is really bright, so we're going to turn up my actual light's brightness. See, this is what season 2 is all about. It's about trial and error, really. Did my light brightness actually turn up or not? I'm going to say that it did. But yeah, for season 2, there's just so many like new things that I want to try that, you know, I'm just constantly hoping to level up. One of the things I'm really excited about for season 2, and I'm going to hold your hand when I say this, I want to have guests on the podcast. I think season 2 is officially the season I'm going to do it in. I just need to buy another microphone, obviously, and I got to figure out my camera situation, although I feel like, I mean, this is really the only place in my apartment to sit down and do this podcast. It's the most like scenic area, as you can tell. So I think I can fit both me and my guest in frame right here. I think it could work. I just got to figure out the microphone piece, and then we'll have a guest on here. I don't know who's going to be first. I don't know what we're going to talk about. I don't know if they'll be here for the whole time or a segment. Who knows? But in any regard, I am looking forward to having some guests on here because you know what? As much as I enjoy this one-on-one time that you and I have, why don't we bring somebody else into the mix? So I think that'll be really fun. I'm looking forward to that. And just, looking forward to seeing what season 2 is all about. Just in general, I mean, I don't really think this is the time. Well, yeah, kind of. I feel like as we get into like the warmer season, it feels like another summer of or it feels like another season of transition. I really do like the feeling of, I can't wait to see what's in store. Like, I feel like there are certain points in the month or there are certain points in the year that have those feelings. Obviously, going into New Year's is a big one, but I feel like moments like this, and I think it's maybe just because graduation just happened for a lot of people. And so when I just see so many graduation pics, I do kind of contact feel. And I don't know if it's from seeing all these graduation pictures or because I work in higher education or just because, the summertime is literally a new season. I don't know if it's a combination of those three things or anything individually, but there is something in my mind about oh, I can't wait to see what's in store next, versus I feel like going from February to March, you don't really have that feeling of I can't wait to see what's next. But I feel like right now that might be the feeling that a lot of people are having. And so I'm just excited to see what's next with the podcast, see what's next with me with content creation, see what's next with me in my personal life. I don't know. I'm so excited for things. I will say that, and I don't think I've talked about it on here because I don't think it happened, or in the time that I was making the last episode of the podcast, but I did my first paid advertisement on TikTok. A woman from Volley Games reached out to me, and they do games on smart home devices. So, if you have a Google Home, I have Alexi, as I like to say when I'm referring to her on videos and stuff, but they reached out to me. I played a little game on it, and it was really cool. But it's so crazy to me because as a small content creator, that's what you are working up to really is getting that first paid ad or getting that first paid collaboration, that first paid ad, and just kind of that's what you want. And so when you get it, it's just oh my God, because we are such small creators, I'm saying we, you and me, if you do create content out there, because we are such small content creators, I think at least what I've told myself is you have to put your community first, right? So I'm putting forth, just trying to be consistent on there, trying to build a following like that and just trying to build community first. And so when you actually are seen by a brand that wants to collaborate with you, it does have this moment of wow, oh my God, my hard work is really paying off, and I'm seeing that in real time. So that's been really nice. I'm trying to think what else has been going on with me. Okay, so funny enough, this episode that you are watching right now was not my first episode that I filmed for season 2, episode 1 of the podcast. I actually had a whole other episode filmed, but just because of some weird stuff that went on just in my work life, I was just otherwise emotionally and mentally occupied, and I wasn't able to set aside time during the week to edit the podcast, and I just honestly, I needed the time to recover to myself, just recuperate. And I could probably touch on that issue a little bit. I think we'll talk about it a little bit, not too much, but just enough. I'll phrase it like this: to all of my women of color and Black women in the workplace, especially to all my non-confrontational ones that even if you know that something is not right, you have a hard time speaking up about it in a way that is true to how you actually feel about the situation. It is so important for you to take that stand and stand up for yourself and advocate for yourself when you are in spaces where you are the minority, where you are the other. Because even if people around you don't have a malicious intent, if their actions are anything other than welcoming, opening, if their actions do not show that they have your best interest in heart, or your best interest at heart, whether that's professionally or personally, you have to hold those people accountable. Because in some spaces, some people may have never had to have been held accountable. I don't know if that made sense, but follow me. Even if it's 2024 and you think that people know what they should and should not say to people, some people are never actually told, hey, what you said actually upset me. And so that was something I've been dealing with at work. And I know I'm being really cryptic. I just, time and place, to quote Tati Westbrook. That's a really niche reference, I feel like. But, I just to keep it kind of vague, it's kind of like if you know situation. But to all of my women of color, all my black women in the workplace, especially if you're on the younger side as well, like myself, it takes a lot of courage, and it is very scary to speak up, but sometimes you have to, because you have to set the precedent. You have to let people know, hey, I'm usually cool, but like this was very fucked up. So that really took up a lot of headspace for me last week, which I hate, but like, such is life. And I mean that in the sense of like, not every week is going to be sunshine and flowers, right? Some weeks are going to feel very much like your angsty playlist, and some weeks are going to feel like your pocket full of sunshine playlist. And, you take the good, you take the bad, you take them both, and there you have the facts of life. The facts of life. There's a time you get a girl until you're grown enough to know about do y'all know that show? Facts of Life was such a fun song, or such a fun show, and I love the theme song. The problem nowadays is that TV shows don't have good theme songs anymore. And that's really when we started losing recipes. When TV show execs stopped putting time and effort into crafting good theme songs, we lost it. Let me think of some of my favorite ones. All That is a classic, mainly because, it's TLC, like it's going to be a good song. How does it start? Now, this is just a something before I blow your mind. The show is all of that, and yes, we do it all the time. So sit your booty on the floor in a chair. Oh, it's such a fun song. Like, it just gets you excited. And then, of course, like, to go off of that, the Keenan and Kel show. Coolio, of all people. Great song. I'm trying to think what else. But I'm thinking about, there really isn't a Nickelodeon or Disney show that didn't have a good theme song, but that was what TV execs knew they needed to do to get kids to watch the show. Like, you got to have a catchy theme song. That's So Raven literally bumps the theme song, not the show. The show is great, obviously, but the theme song. Sweet Life of Zach and Cody. Sweet Life on Deck was even not as good, but it was still good. I'm trying to think of like some non-kid shows, I guess. One that's always stuck in my head, I feel like it's not as big of a sitcom show, but if you watch it, you absolutely know. Half and Half. Through this journey of discover, finding you and finding me, finding you and great song. A lot of like black sitcoms have really good songs. Good Times, of course. Like the literal, I can't even think of the word, but like that is like peak black theme song right there. Good times, anytime you need a baby. Good Times is great. Think about other One-on-One. Hello, literally set in Baltimore. Girlfriends is great. It's very simple, but like my girlfriends. Then you hear me sing the up there in that upper register. Thank you. Recognize it. What else? Fresh Prince, Martin, of course. I'm trying to think of like other good theme songs. Let me think of like some white TV shows to balance it out a little bit. Three's Company. Golden Girls. Hello? Golden Girls. I'm going to be honest. Golden Girls is one of those theme songs that I'm going to be very honest. Yes, it's like an all white women cast. And yes, it's probably sang by a white woman. But something about the Golden Girls theme song is black. I can't describe it to y'all. You actually know what it is. If you've seen this video, you know exactly what I'm about to say. I'm going to sing the song, and I'm also singing the other parts, and you'll know exactly what video I'm talking about, because if you know, you know. How's it start off? Thank you for being a friend. Oh, yeah. Traveled down the road and back again. So we started from the bottom, now we're here, girl. That video alone makes the Golden Girls theme song black. It really does. And if you don't know the video I'm talking about, I mean, I feel like you could probably, let me just play it for y'all actually. Let me see if I can find it. Golden Girls theme song remix. And it's literally the first result. Okay, listen. I sound just like him.
Hey, so we started from the bottom, now we're here, girl. Oh, yeah. This is my part right here.
Sing. I love, like, whenever I find myself watching Golden Girls, I cannot listen to the theme song without hearing this version. Like, it's ingrained in my brain. I hope that this person is doing well nowadays because they literally changed the course of history. Anyway, what have I been talking about? Literally nothing. Something I wanted to talk about. I was looking up, like, just other ways to talk about bringing in new beginnings of things, right? And something I thought would be fun is if I look back on something that I said on this podcast before and I see if my mindset has changed. And wouldn't you know it, I have something. So once upon a time, a young woman who meant well sat right here in this chair and may or may not have talked about a A-list pop star. And she may have said some things about her that she read in the tabloids that may or may not have been true. And she did apologize. Let the record show that the woman that sat in this chair and said those things did apologize. But from that moment, I really felt like I was off of Ariana Grande. I'll be very serious. I just kind of felt like, girl, what are you doing? Ariana reminds me of a friend that I used to have. Anyway. But she does remind me of a friend I used to have in just this way of like, girl, like, what are you doing? Like, your messiness is like, it's pissing me off, right? That's how I used to feel. And then I sat down. I've been wanting to listen to like some new music. That's something I hadn't heard yet. And I was like, let me go ahead and listen to Eternal Sunshine. Because you know what? Before I decided to listen to the album, I did watch the music video for her song, We Can't Be Friends. Because I saw this clip in it and someone was like, oh, the acting is really good here. And I was like, well, she is an actress. Let me go ahead and see what the music video is about then. One, I love the concept of the music video. I just miss like regular music videos now. Like, I know people love like visually pleasing things. People love to get like a good screenshot, a good GIF from a music video. I want like classic, like cinematic, not cinematic. No. I just want like classic music videos that have a storyline to them. You know what I'm saying? That's what I want back. So I kind of feel like that's what I got with this music video. I love the concept of it. Spoiler alert if you haven't seen the music video yet, but the video, Ariana Grande is going into this place called Brighter Days Inc. And it's like this pseudoscience place, I guess, that like you bring in objects that remind you of a person and they put each object into like this machine and you're hooked up to all these wires and stuff and it looks in your brain to see how you remember this person attached to this object and they like wipe things out of your brain one by one. That premise already is like really cool and I would love to see a Black Mirror episode about it. But there's a moment in the video where I guess they like go to scan the necklace that she's wearing and something about the way that she acted right there, like you have to watch the music video to see what I'm talking about, but there's something about the hyperventilation, like the nervousness, the way she's like asking to keep this memory attached to this necklace, something about that, it appealed to me. And I said, wait, Ari, we can be friends again. Something about that moment gripped me. Pause. I hate that I said it. But something about that moment had me and I was just like, oh my gosh, wait, she's just a girl. And I don't mean that in like the joking sense of like, I'm just a girl, but like Ariana Grande is just a woman who her dating life is put on blast all the time. You know what I'm saying? Like she can't help that she's a celebrity. She can't help that like anything that she does is literally fodder, good word, is like literally fodder for the news tablets. She can't help that. And it's unfair that her narrative is always being controlled because, you know, I always think that if I was a celebrity, I would speak up about some things I would speak about, you know, or maybe I wouldn't speak out about certain things. But I understand her need to not always speak about everything because, you know what? Ultimately, it's not anyone's business, you know? I understand even if you have, you know, this stan account speaking about your narrative and you have this tabloid speaking about your narrative and this person on TikTok who reports on pop culture news speaking about your narrative, you don't owe anyone an explanation. Because I think also, especially in her life, she deserves the right to like just fall back from all the drama, right? Even if she allegedly may be in the center of it, sometimes it's just like, you know what? I still don't owe anyone anything. Unrelated, but semi-related. Ethan Slater was on my job's campus maybe like 2 weeks ago. And I just think that's so weird. He was in the coffee shop that I went to that morning. And if I saw him, I still would have said, leave her alone. Break up with her. Leave her alone. But that's besides the point. But yeah, I find myself, and trust me, I know this is going to sound so parasocial relationshipy, but just hear me out. I find myself repairing my relationship with Ariana Grande for the simple fact that I am now re-seeing her as just a girl. And I know that sounds like so chronically online, blah, blah, blah. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. Okay? Sometimes you got to go through the chronically online stage to get back to the I've touched grass stage. And that's where I am right now. I just find myself like feeling more sympathy towards her. And I really think it's because I've listened to the music. I forget which song it was on the album, although I do think a few songs are about him. But there's one song in particular about Dalton Gomez, and it talks about how, like, you know, he like had a girl in their bed, like he was cheating on Ariana and stuff. And I think there's even some like more rumors about possible like DV and stuff. Something about when women make music talking about like how they were cheated on and they say that like you had her in our bed or my bed, that's when it becomes really tangible for me. Because at first when I hear the song, I'm like, oh, I hate that you got cheated on, girl. Like, nobody deserves that. But then when they put that line in there about you had her in my bed or our bed, then I'm taking out the pitchforks. And then I'm saying, we're going after him. We ride at dawn, ladies. Let's get him. But, yeah, I don't know. I really just think the vulnerability that she showed on the album and in that music video in particular, it really did remind me that, like, that she's just a girl. She's just what is her sign, actually? My guess, I would say either a Leo. I might say a Leo or a Gemini. Leo, Gemini, or Cancer. That's my guess. Yeah, let's see. If I'm right, you guys, if I'm right, I'm literally not ever going to shut up. Not that I would do anyway, but I might not. I'm so scared right now. Boom! Cancer, baby! Period. And I knew, and now I'm never going to shut up. Let's take a little break, right? I think so. We'll be right back. Enjoy these behind-the-scenes clips from the Realer Than Real podcast. God, fuck him up. I'ma do my stuff. And it's probably ain't minor. They not like us. 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 You can feel all by yourself, but I had a runner, so I can't find no one else. So don't isolate yourself when there's nobody around. She gets so high on this part. Woo! 8. 1 more 1. 1 more 1. Bro, this is what I'm saying. TV shows don't make you want to watch TV no more. Ah! Alrighty, you guys, we are back. Welcome back. How we all feeling? You already know what it means. When we finish our first segment and we come into the second segment, we're not going nowhere until we start with our drinks. Wait. Every single time. I know this segment comes up every time, and every single time I do this, I don't have a song ready. Let's come up with a little something. Let's do a little, like, Queen. Let's do, like, a little, We Will Rock You moment. No, never mind. I heard it in my head. It was going to sound bad. Let me just get to it. I only have one drink anyway. So only one drink of the week right now, and that's because right before I started filming the podcast, I had dinner. I had pasta for dinner. I ate my pasta that was for dinner way too fast. So now I'm dealing with a little bit of bloating from the pasta that was for dinner. So my drink of the week right now is a Schweppes ginger ale. I'm going to be honest, between Schweppes, and Canada Dry, I don't know if I have a preference. What I do know is that ginger ale is going to get me right every single time. I'm telling you right now, it's even to the point where if I am eating a certain food that I know will have me bloated, in order to like counterattack that, I will drink with the ginger ale. The other day, I went to go get pho. If you don't know what pho is, it's a Vietnamese soup. It's delicious. 10 out of 10 would recommend. It has me bloated big time when I eat it. So last time, and then of course I was treating myself this day, so I got crab ragoons as an appetizer, and then I got the pho. I got the large beef brisket pho. So I was looking to like really hunker down, I guess. When I had that ginger ale, I'm telling you, especially I was eating by myself, so I had on my headphones, I'm like on my phone, I'm hunched over eating like a monster, and as I'm eating, I'm also drinking the ginger ale, so I'm burping. There were like other people, because it's like a restaurant, so like people are like dining around me. I'm so sure they're like, can she leave? She has no decorum. Like she's eating as if she's in her living room at home. And I really felt like I was, truly. But anyway, that's my drink of the week. Let me take another quick sip. For the ASMR, of course. That's crisp. But that's my drink of the week, and I would love to know what you all are sipping on. If you're watching this on YouTube, please feel free to drop it in the comments what you're drinking at this very moment. Or, how about this? Because you might not be drinking something when you're listening to this, right? Let me know. Let me know what the last thing that you had to drink. What was your favorite thing you've recently drank? It can just be an ice cold glass of water. Maybe it was a tall glass of lemonade. Maybe it was a Diet Coke. Maybe it was something alcoholic if you are of age. But please, let me know in the comments if you're watching this on YouTube. I believe there's a way you can do it on Spotify, so let me know on there as well if that's the question I decide to put for this one. But yeah, let me know. Or how about when I post this episode on Instagram, or when I post this episode, I'm going to put it on my Instagram story as what was your drink of the week, and I want you to respond. How about that? And if you're not following the podcast on Instagram, big mistake. It is at the Realer Than Real podcast. Go ahead and please follow that for me, and I'd love to see you hanging out over there with me. Perfect. All right, you guys, let's talk about something, right? So on Twitter, it started on TikTok and then it kind of made its way to Twitter, but if you all haven't heard, there's a teacher that has recently been fired. I don't know if he was like a middle school, high school teacher or whatever, but let's just say it was not like a college professor. It was like a teacher. We'll say, I don't know how old he was, or I don't know what grades he taught. But he posted a picture of his students taking out his hair, and that got the internet up in arms. His side of the story, like I think when he posted the video, the caption or maybe the text on screen said something about like students bonding with teachers, let's bring this back into the classroom and things of that nature. And his idea of bonding was having his students, his female students, take out his hair for him. He said that he had a hair appointment after work and, he needed to have his hair out, all things of that nature. And it got the internet up in arms, right? There's been so many takes on it. I was discussing this with my brother because, we'll see things that happen on social media and we'll just talk about them like briefly texting each other. I talked about it with my boyfriend, Jared. I gestured like he was sitting right here next to me, but it's because when we were talking about it, we were sitting in these chairs. Funny enough, Jared went to, I think he said college with a guy, so he knows him and they follow each other on social media, so he's always seeing his like teacher content. I've talked about it with two people, right? My problem, and what I'm going to talk about, my problem is not what is going on in the video. I don't think. Here's my train of thought, right? I totally understand there are just some teachers that students are going to be more drawn to, more casual with, in a not a, I'm going to say romantic, but I mean on the student side, not romantic. Like, I had teachers that I was very, very cool with in a way that truly felt like a mentor. You know, they made me feel like they were a friend, but like in a respectful way. Like, I truly did bond with those people, with those teachers that made me feel that way. That's just going to happen with some of those teachers. And in that way, students will kind of let down their guard a little bit. So with these teachers that I was friends with, I was cursing in front of them. I was telling them all the student tea that I knew about. You know, we were sitting around gossiping and stuff, talking about like just family things, simple things, because it is a safe space, right? But there's being comfortable with the teacher in a way that you feel like you're not comfortable with other teachers, in a way that makes you feel safe and kind of relaxed in a classroom, versus touching someone. And I just don't, I don't know why that, first of all, even just hugging a teacher is one thing, but like having students taking out your hair, I think is strange in this context. When me and my brother were talking about it, he was like, you know, what if those students like offered to do it because they're into like, you know, cosmetology and things of that nature, kind of like beautician things. And that could be a reason. Actually, let me back up. It's even without everything that's come out of this teacher, I don't think my issue is with what happened in the video, because ultimately it is, I don't know. It's like I do and I don't. If I'm listening to what my brother said, right? And he said, what if those kids were interested in like, you know, beautician school or whatever, and they were like, oh, can we help you do this? That is one way to look at it, right? If he asked them to do it, it's kind of like, that's a little weird. Like, you're an adult with adult money, pay to have your hair taken out when you're going to get your hair done. I don't know. But also, if you're going to have a hair appointment, you need to prepare ahead of time. But in any regard, there's one part of me that's like, I don't have a problem with it. But then it's like, it's also kind of like, well, why would you though? Like, I mean, I don't work with young kids in any nature, in any capacity right now. The only time I did is when I was working at the summer camp. And I don't know. I just couldn't imagine asking the kids who are in camp to like do camp activities to take out my hair. But that's also me. I don't like people touching my hair like that. But that's me, right? But even beyond that, I think the problem, one of my biggest problems with the video, I think my biggest problem is that he didn't do his due diligence he didn't do his part as being an educator who's going to post content on social media. So as someone who is chronically online, y'all know I love TikTok. I'm always on TikTok. Teacher content is something that people love. I actually love watching teachers do their thing. I love watching people do like, oh, set up my classroom with me and clean up at the end of the day. Like, people love teacher content. I also think people want to support teachers nowadays because they realize people are finally realizing how much of a fundamental role teachers play in student lives. You know, even just outside the aspects of being like a role model, a mentor, being a safe space for students who maybe need that. Aside from that, I mean, we've all seen the TikTok of that one teacher who talked about how like he teaches high school kids to read on the 5th grade level. That's a whole separate thing, but you know, that content is really popular. And so I can understand you wanting to show these genuine interactions you have with your kids as a teacher. The problem is that what I see most students or what I see most teachers doing on TikTok, they will either blur out students' faces or they just will never show the students. When I was a camp counselor, one of the things that they taught us was that, one, we shouldn't be recording the kids at all, which of course not. That's like highly inappropriate, regardless of what you're trying to do, whether it's content purposes or not. You like shouldn't be recording kids, taking pictures, anything like that, unless you have actual consent from their parents. I think the only time we were able to photograph kids is like when we were doing write-ups to like show like the programs that we did. I know for my group, because I was working with kind of, I think like the preteen age group, I had to like actually write up the things that I had planned out for them, and I had to like provide pictures and stuff. So that's the only time I was able to take pictures of them, right? But that's something they tell you to do. And then I think if it wasn't in that training, I may have heard from a friend who became a teacher about saying that like if they're going to post content or if they're going to post pictures of their kids online, they have to like blur out their faces or something. Because one, you don't have permission from those parents or those kids' parents to show their face online, especially on your social media. It's one thing if students are being photographed to be put on a school website or something, but to, take pictures of a student to post on your personal social media is another thing. Unless you have written consent from that parent, you shouldn't do that. But also, something that is, it's sad and it's sick and it's dark that it has to be acknowledged, but I'm going to try to find a way to say this. There are some sick parts of the internet that they will see any type of content, any type of media, anything. They'll see anything with a child on it. And regardless of what the subject matter is, it can be shared and distributed inappropriately. And it's so sick to think about, but like, it's one of these like dark truths of the world, but like I see it all the time whenever sometimes people will post stuff with their children in it, and there's always this conversation of like you should stop posting stuff with your kids in it, but it's like, I don't want to say people are going to do what they want, but it's kind of like, if I'm a mom, and I want to post stuff of my kid, I'm going to do that. I think you have to be aware of like the ways that you're doing that, of course, like that's a whole other thing. I don't want to get into that because it does make my stomach turn. But going back to this original thing, there's a reason that you're not allowed to post pictures of kids that are not yours online for these reasons. The reasons that are obvious, which is that you don't have permission. But another reason is that you want to protect these kids' privacy. You know what I'm saying? You don't want it to be your page that is feeding the darkness and like the evilness on the other side of the internet. You know what I'm saying? So that's that. The fact that he didn't do his due diligence in that is already wrong. I did see a lot of think pieces talking about a lot of different things. People were talking about this idea of like, people were bringing up maybe like that there's maybe like a sexual element to it, which I think is a reach. People were talking about like, I saw this one video, I just didn't agree with it. This woman was saying how like, it's kind of inevitable that girls are going to have crushes on their teachers, and, it can kind of take that. And I just think that's too much of a reach. I think if we look at what is going on in the video, we can say what's wrong with it without reaching too far. Because there's this idea of like, yeah, sure, let's bring back teachers bonding with students. But this is not the way to do it. Having teachers bond with students by them doing something for you. Because that ultimately, it's like, I don't have a problem with it, because I like the idea of finding ways for students to like build that trust back with teachers. Because when that trust is built back, then we can get back to learning. We can get these reading scores up. That's my thinking. That's my wishful thinking, right? But on the other side of it, you can find nothing else for them. Like, what if instead of doing that, maybe one Friday, y'all just all brought, like, everyone brings in like pictures of their family, and we just talk about like the importance of family to each other. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's other ways to do it. I just wish you didn't do it that way, right? Why did you record that? And why are we in the age of always posting everything online? Because here's my thing. This might not have been the first time this has happened, but my fundamental issue, and I kind of talked about this a little bit on the last episode of season 1 when we talked about Gerard Carmichael, and we talked about like putting things out there online to have a certain narrative, but when you put things in the hands of the public, we, the public, are going to shape things how we see them. And so, yes, sure, at its core, this teacher put this video on TikTok to be like, oh, I'm bonding with my students. The problem is that when you let the internet have it, they're going to take it and I won't even say spin it, because it's not hard to spin that, There should be no reason why that video is up there. You should not have recorded it, though. We're in this age where everything is recorded. And as someone who does create content, even I sometimes know that not all of my thoughts, all of my actions, everything that I do, say, eat, drink, I don't know, like everything that happens in a 24 hours for me does not need to be on camera. Even in a situation like this, where this is a very sit down casual podcast, there's so many things I cut out. There are like certain shots of my feet that I cut out. Like if I'm not wearing socks, there are certain stutters, certain like noises that I make that I cut out because I know that everything should not be online. And we're in this age now where people feel the need to have everything online. And, there's some deeper parts of it to where it's like people seek validation. People need to be connected. People want to be seen. People want to be able to create these personas of themselves so that they can be seen and validated by other people. Okay, so I'm just going to read you guys the last paragraph of this article. It's a very interesting article, and we could definitely revisit it in another topic, because I do think, obviously, being someone who does post a lot of their life on social media, looking at the ways that, like, posting too much on social media, it interests me a lot. So the interviewer asked, so should we be posting through it? For context, posting through it is basically like, let's say you're going through a breakup and you post about every single step of like what it looks like, quote unquote, getting better. And you post about, every single time you're crying, every single time you're like raging or whatever. That's posting through it. Posting through any type of traumatic event. So the interviewer asked, should we be posting through it? And the person that they're interviewing says, I've done a lot of research into how people with, for example, depression or who have eating disorders are sharing, what they're talking about and how they're using different platforms. I've tended to focus on people who do this anonymously. I've written a lot about how people conceal their identities in order to talk about these things, partly for a lot of people because they're stigmatized and people don't want their legal identity being linked to what are essentially their innermost thoughts on their health condition. On the flip side, you've got people on TikTok who are putting their names and faces to a lot of different things. I saw a TikTok the other day of this girl whose partner had died. She was sobbing and the first words that came out of her mouth were, I don't know why I'm doing this. I thought this was a really powerful sentence. We assume that so much craft and thought goes into these moments. A word that gets bandied around a lot is attention seeking. There's a lot of disparagement of people who do that. But like I said, social media has become so intimate as a part of our life. It's probably getting to a point in society where it does feel more normal and more natural to talk about how you feel and post about it. There's a really simple explanation where you can say it might benefit someone who is going through it. There's a lot of evidence to suggest that in this case that it is helping to destigmatize certain things and that it's been certainly really helpful. But that, to me, is a simple explanation. What else is happening on top of what we are having as a society, a very different level of intimacy towards social media that we might not be comfortable admitting this stage? I don't think it's as easy anymore to say that's an overshare or that's cringe. So I put up this article just to kind of look at the idea of, because there's like a fundamental question in my mind, and there's a reason why a lot of people don't feel sympathy for this teacher that got fired, and it's because of this idea of, why did you feel the need to film that? You know what I'm saying? It goes back to this moment of, why do we feel the need to film everything? Personally, now I can't speak on this person's behalf because I don't know this teacher. If I'm assuming the best of him, he wanted to capture a very genuine moment between him and his students. But if I'm assuming the worst, he just wanted to go viral. And sometimes, and that's kind of like what this article is talking about, is somebody oversharing. There's another part in this article that talks about like people weaponizing their anger, things of that nature. Were you sharing with the idea of like, I really want people to see what it's like to be a black male teacher in a black school doing the things that people don't think that we're doing? I want to show people that we're doing the work on the ground. I think it's ultimately like, what was your goal when you posted that? So it's unfortunate. So this teacher got fired, right? I'm going to tell y'all more of the story. He gets fired. People start clowning him bad. It's honestly, it's not funny because I do ultimately feel bad for him, but then people get upset because it's not funny. But it's, again, just like, you need to stop recording these things. He gets online, he sets up a video, he has a microphone similar to mine, and he is like crying and stuff. And I swear, I'm not making fun of the fact that he's crying, but it's just kind of like, babe, the whole reason you got in trouble is because you kept recording stuff. Put the phone down, put the camera down, put the mic down. This is where he loses me, bro. He starts reading texts from his students saying how much they miss him. Sir. You should have just lied and said they were emails. It just the idea that your students are texting you. Now, let me say this. I think in my whole school time, I've only had one teacher's number. And I had his number because I was in this like club in high school where we were going to be going on like a trip like overseas and stuff. So it made sense that everyone in this club had this teacher's number. So I had his number. I do not think I've ever used it outside of school. But then again, high school was so long ago for me. Like high school was so long ago at this point. But I don't think it was ever used inappropriately. No, I'd like to think it wasn't. I don't think even though this teacher was like a really good friend at the time and someone who I consider like a good friend now, I genuinely don't think I've ever like used his number inappropriately. Sir, why do your students have your number though? And they should not be texting you, and you should not be using that as fodder. That's a great word. You shouldn't be using that to get us on your side, because it just makes you look worse. People are already accusing you not of having an inappropriate relationship with your students, but they're saying that your relationship in terms of you having them take out your hair is already inappropriate. So for you to be reading texts that they're sending to you is not a good look, my friend. But then, of course, the plot thickens. And this is ultimately what I want to talk about. Digital footprint. If you were unaware what a digital footprint is, there's like a cyber definition to it, but then there's like a more societal definition to it. Digital footprint is basically every time you get online, through IP addresses, things of that nature. I don't really know how it all works, but someone is able to track every single website that you were on, every single video you viewed, something you liked, commented on, shared. All that can be tracked, right? Digital footprint. The societal kind of definition of it is anything that you've ever said or done online is still there. And we've all heard that lesson before, right? It's the idea, when people my age were coming up and looking at the job force, our parents would tell us all the time, watch what you post online because employers can look through your social media and stuff. That's why a lot of times people tell you to like private your stuff so that only people who are following can see it. Which, by the way, I've always thought that was so fucked up. Like, I'm gonna be very honest, I've always thought that was so messed up. Because it's like, as long as you're not posting, like, harmful things, like, what if, I don't know, that's always bothered me. I don't know if, like, the Gen Z side of me is like, why does it matter? Obviously, there are certain things that, like, as an employer, you don't want your employees to be posting online, because then if it gets back to you, then it's not gonna be a good look for you. But, like, I just feel like there are certain things, it don't even matter. But yeah, basically your digital footprint in the societal kind of definition way I'm thinking of is like anything that you post, someone will be able to see. If you can look it up and it can be Googled to you, someone can see it. So for example, if I'm ever running for president, someone could be able to look up my TikTok page and see that I made a TikTok talking about how I have a new celebrity crush and life is worth living again. And that's something light, obviously. That's something jokingly. If anything, I should get your vote because I said that. Because, hello, that's realer than real. But anyway, it just means anything you post can be seen online. And so when you're trying to make your claim against the internet of how you're not a bad guy, but then the internet finds a video of you as a grown man who stitched a high school girl's video. Now let me set the context for y'all. A high schooler, presumably she's a minor, right? Underage, not the age of 18 or older. She posted a video online saying she likes emo boys. The subject in the video, and I'm going to try to find a way to describe her, because obviously I'm an adult and I know that she's a minor. She was curvy. Okay? That's the way I would describe her. And you take from that what you will. And so this guy, this teacher who works with kids, stitches the video on TikTok. And he's like acting like an emo boy. Because the video that the high school minor posted said, I like emo boys. Lord, how the turn have tabled. Me and my brother, we had been texting about like, oh man, they're saying this about him. When I sent him this video, I said, well, that's enough on him. I actually literally just saw a meme. Someone had put R. Kelly's face over his original video with the students taking out his hair, and I said, yeah, he's done for. Pack him up. That's unfortunate. That is so unfortunate that in this moment where you are trying to defend your actions as not being inappropriate, this video comes up of you being inappropriate. Now, of course, you have the people online saying, hey, you can't touch this in high school, blah, 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 blah. Look, it all goes back to doing your due diligence. If you are going to make a video publicly lusting over someone on the internet, you better make good and goddamn sure that they are of age. If you, as a teacher, are going to be taking the steps to post content with your students, you need to be making good and goddamn sure that you are taking the steps to ensure that their identity is not being put out there. First of all, you shouldn't even be recording the content. I'll be very honest. Like, again, I understand the idea of building that relationship, building rapport, all these things. There are other ways to build rapport, my brother. And it could have been anything else. You know what I'm saying? You could have taken out your hair. You could have, like, given the whole class free time, right? And you're taking out your hair while the students are right there. And maybe they're teaching you about different hair care things. It's just once you break that physical barrier and you have these students doing this thing for you, it just gets too muddy and you shouldn't have done it. Digital footprint is very real. And ultimately that's really what took him out of this whole thing. Because, I mean, if he was really committed to defending himself, he would have had a leg to stand on. It would have been a little wobbly. The leg might have like a busted knee. And maybe, you know, I can't think of any other leg issue, but the leg he was standing on might have had a busted knee, but he could have stood on it. But the fact that video came out, there was a bat taken of both of his kneecaps, digitally, of course. It's just really unfortunate. A digital footprint is so real, and I think that in the age of social media, I think it's so important for us to continue to define for ourselves certain things that need to be documented or not, right? So like me, for example, right? On TikTok, I've gone viral a few times for showing like what my commute looks like, because it's a 2-hour commute and it's a very real thing for a lot of people that I guess a lot of people don't really know about. With that being said, when I'm filming my commute, I try so hard to not film like any super identifying buildings around me, because there's literally accounts of TikTok online. Like, there's accounts of people on TikTok who, like people dare them to be like, oh, find where I am. And they'll, like, figure out, like, they'll zoom in on pictures on your Instagram and be like, oh, this type of building architecture is only found, this type of building architecture is only found in this city, or it's found in 3 major cities. And based on your accent, I can tell that you probably live over here. And based on this ice cream cone you have in this one picture, I can tell you live here. Like, there are people who do this for fun after, like, people consent to having it done to them. So imagine that there are people who can find where you are regardless. I try not to have any super identifying characteristics around me when I'm filming these videos. Sometimes people are just going to recognize things, and that is what it is. Like, for example, like one of those videos, I work at a university. Obviously, university has a lot of students that go there. A lot of students at that school has seen that video, which I'm kind of like, oh my God, I'm trending amongst the youth. But I'm just like, you can get found. And I'm not saying that in a scary way. I'm not saying that to discourage people from posting online, because the fact of the matter is that, like, there are some things that are just kind of inevitable, but it really is this idea of doing your due diligence to stay safe and understanding that digital footprint is real. And if you are going to be someone who does post a lot on social media because you enjoy content creation, like myself, you just need to be on your P's and Q's, really. And this teacher was not. He was on his ABCs, not on his P's and Q's, y'all. Anyway, we're going to take a quick break. Say it with me now, and we'll be right back. If you want to make sure you're always getting all the tea that I have to offer, be sure to follow the podcast on TikTok and Instagram. On Instagram, it's at the Realer Than Real Podcast, and on TikTok, it's at the Realer Than Real Pod. I'll see you there. All right, you guys, we are back, and this episode has been so much fun. Cheers to season 2, actually. Can we just cheers really quick to season 2? Everyone put their drinks up if you have one with you. Cheers. Season 2 is going to be great. I'm looking forward to it. this last topic of mine, one of the things that I not look forward to, but one of the things I was so sure I was going to do when I started my podcast was do an episode about grief. Because it is something that is so not necessarily near and dear to me, but it is something that, because I'm experiencing it firsthand, it's something I want to talk about. You know, it's one of those things where it's like, obviously everybody either is dealing with it or will deal with it eventually. And it's one of those things where, like, you know that, but it is kind of comforting in a way to hear someone talk about it. And so I wanted to do it in part for that reason, but also just to talk about my experiences with it and how it's been going for me and things of that nature. But that's the thing about grief, is that it's so expansive, and that episode, that eventual episode that will come, it could be 2 hours long. It could be 3 hours long, even 4. And I would still never feel like I covered every part of grief. I would still never feel like I was able to touch on every part of grief that I want to talk about. So here we'll just kind of start the conversation now and see how it goes. So I'm actually filming this episode today on Sunday, May 12th. That is Mother's Day. In the original episode I had filmed for this week, or last week, I guess, I wanted to do something in preparation for Mother's Day, but it didn't work out. But I still wanted to do this topic because, you know, on the day of Mother's Day, I'm, you know, having some feelings and stuff. I want to talk about it. Not really, though, but I mean, that's actually what I want to talk about. And one, you know, if you've been watching the episode on YouTube, you'll see here that I've had my mother's blanket with me. For those of you who don't know, this is a blanket that, I think maybe one Christmas or something, or maybe just, I don't know, whenever, her friend group, they did a lot of, like, gift giving to each other. And one of them got her this blanket, and it just has a bunch of pictures of either her or, like, of her and, like, different people in the friend group. So I have been honored just to keep this here with me. And I like it. One, it's a good blanket. It's very warm, but I just like seeing some of the pictures on it. The other day I saw a picture on it that I had never seen before. Where is it? It's on here somewhere because I know I saw it. And I was just, oh yeah, it's this one down here where she's at the Maryland State Police. I don't know why she was there, but, let me hold it up so y'all can see it. Wait, it's like so hard to figure this out. It's this one right down here. This one right down here. This one. Sorry, I'm like trying to make sure I'm pointing to it. But I'd never seen it before, and I was just folding the blanket and I saw it and I was like, wow. That is a picture I've never seen before, and it makes me feel a little bit emotional. That's one of the things for me, I think, that's been so difficult about grief, is that I just you don't get to like create any new pictures, new videos, anything like that. And so it's so funny because there'd be moments where like my mom would be doing something and I would be recording her, and my brother would always be like, she's recording you. But now it's like I'm happy that I did that because I have these videos and I have these pictures and stuff to look back on. I think that's been one of the hardest parts for me. I don't necessarily get jealous when people post pictures of their moms. I actually love it. I think I've spent all day today just liking people's story of people posting things with their mom. Because I love to see that kind of stuff, and it makes me happy that other people will still have that joy in their lives. I feel like other people would have like a different reaction, but for me personally, I enjoy seeing that, because I know how important my mother was to me or is to me. And I know, you know, I can appreciate other people having that experience still. But it does make me a little sad to, you know, be able to see people take new pictures with their mom and be able to continue to celebrate them in a way that they can still be present for. So that's been like kind of the hard part. But for me, grief is such a strange thing because it literally is so many things. Like grief is like an umbrella term at this point because it encompasses so many things. One of my favorite quotes about grief is that grief shows you that loved ones lived here, and that's so true. I don't think you can grieve someone who you didn't love. And excuse me if that's ignorant. Maybe because I don't have that experience of grieving or, you know, losing someone who I didn't love. But the type of grief that I'm feeling could only exist in a place where there was so much love that lived. But I think grief leaves place for regret. It leaves place for being angry. It leaves place for questioning and stuff. And just things like that. I remember I was journaling once, and I wrote in there, and I think this was like really like profound of me to say. It was very simple, but like I was still like, damn, that's true. And sometimes I read it back and I'm like, that was very honest and very good of me. But I wrote just how you could appreciate someone all you want, but in the end, it will never feel like enough. And that's one of those moments of regret that I feel. I'm trying to think about how I want to say this, but, and not even in the sense of like, I can never thank my mother enough for what she's done for me, but definitely like losing someone like that, it makes you regret all the moments that like you didn't want to hang out, that you overslept, and you know, I told her I would go to the grocery store with her and I overslept and she just wasn't trying to have it and she just went. You know, it makes me regret a lot of those moments, and that for me is one of the hardest things to deal with, is like those regrets, because I can't make up for those moments. I can't apologize for those moments. You know, I can speak it into the universe and hope that like the universe carries my words to her spirit and that she feels it. I can hope in a more like present sense that like in the end you kind of realize that none of that stuff matters. But yeah, I mean, that's one of the hardest parts for me, is like any regrets I have associated to how I've ever treated my mom and things of that nature. But you know, that's one of the hard parts. For me personally, one of the things that's helped me in grief, and this is, I mean, I know this is not a nuanced thing, but I can only speak for myself. One of the things that's helped me is constantly trying to put out positive energy into the world and just try to be more of a resource to people, in any context, whatever that means. There was a student worker who worked for my office, or she still technically works for us, but, you know, school is over now. She's moved back home for the summer. And I rarely ever get on Facebook, which, side note, very random side note, the resurgence of Facebook's relevance within people that are around my age, was there a memo that went out that I missed? Because why the fuck is everybody back on Facebook? Of all places. Like, let's go back to MySpace. Like, don't go back to Facebook. I don't know why, but like, Facebook just gives me the ick. There's something about it. I don't know. I just don't like it. But anyway, I rarely ever get on Facebook, and I'm trying to remember around what time this was, but for some reason I just got on Facebook one night and I saw that the student had posted their mom had died, and my heart just immediately sank, because I was like, oh my God, like, I'm so sorry for you. And I immediately texted her and I reached out to her and I was like, you know, trying to ask her questions and stuff to see what had happened, obviously in the most respectful way. I'm not trying to come to her like a reporter being like, can you tell us what happened? And I think I sent her something I probably sent her like $30 to get lunch or something, because I'm not going to say I knew exactly how she felt, because I don't know exactly how she felt, but I tried to do something that I knew I wanted at that moment. I just wanted someone to get me something to eat, which sounds so like, but it's like in that moment, I just wanted someone to get me something to eat. You know, that's all I was really worried about at the time. And no, that sounds weird, but like, it's one of those things where it's like, I'm not getting up to cook something. Like, I'm not cooking in this moment in time right now, and I can't spend my money on food. Can someone please just show me an act of kindness and get your girl and her brother something to eat? So I sent her that, and that made me feel like good, because, you know, I feel like I was doing something for someone that I needed when I was going through that. And that's something that, like, I try and do now. I so desperately want to be a resource for people who are going through something, because even if I don't have all the answers, and I don't, I'm saying that right now, I don't know anything about nothing, but that idea of shared experiences, no matter how difficult they may be, they really do bring us together. And so that's something I try to be. So yeah, that's something about grief that's been kind of in my head, just like, not that I consciously go through it every day, but I have moments of like, can I do something good for someone in this moment? My boyfriend's sister sent me something on Instagram a while ago, and I've thought about it ever since. And it's probably been so long since she sent me this. But Andy Grammer, he's a singer. If you know him, what song does he have? But you gotta put your head up, oh, and you can let your head down, hey. Gotta keep your head up, oh. That's a good song. He also has, my, honey, I'm good. I can do nothing, but I probably should not. He makes music that, like, you don't think you know the words, but then when it's on, you're kind of like, oh, it's been a long time here and a long time there, and these long, long legs are damn near everywhere. Hold up, now you look good, I will not lie, but if your eyes be where I'm staying tonight, I gotta be like, oh, wait, no, low-key, why does that song kind of eat? Andy, I was not familiar with your game. Anyway, she had sent me this video, and in this video, Andy Grammer talked about how he had lost his mom, and whenever he's out, if he sees someone that, like, reminds him of his mom, or maybe was, like, around his mom's age, he will, like, if he sees him out in a coffee shop, he will ask, would you mind if I buy this thing for you, because my mom is not around anymore, and I can't do that. Lord, when I tell y'all, when I saw that video, I was bawling my eyes out. And so I've not been able to do that yet. I've not found the appropriate, I also have, like, I just don't see people out all the time who remind me of my mother. The last time I was able to do something like that, kind of, it was a mom and daughter duo, and they were at Starbucks. And me personally, I can't speak for the rest of y'all, but me personally, it's F Starbucks, right? So, where did I get, oh, right, before Jared, my boyfriend, Jared did not know that it was F Starbucks. So he had got me, I think for our anniversary, like $40 worth of Starbucks drinks, because right before it was F Starbucks, I was going like religiously. And so he got me like $40 worth of Starbucks gift cards. And I had read somewhere that, like, if you use it to get, like, the prepackaged stuff, like the bottles of water and the apple juice, like, the proceeds don't go to Starbucks. So I went to use them. I did get a bunch, but then ultimately I still had, like, $20 left in the gift cards. And I'm like, I don't feel like carrying any more of this stuff back to my apartment. So this mom and daughter duo walked in, and it was the daughter's birthday, and I gave them the gift card, and I just said, here you go, like, I'm not going to use this, have a happy birthday. And so I'm able to do something like that. And that just, like, it made me happy to do that, because I'm not going to say that I saw my mom and myself in them, but, like, I kind of did in a way. But also, it just felt nice to do that for someone else. You know what I'm saying? Because, like, I know if the roles were reversed and someone did that for me, I would feel so happy. And it would be something that me and my mom would kiki about for a while. So, like, that made me really happy. Now I'm just thinking about Andy Grammer songs right now. When this podcast is done and I gotta go in I gotta go in that kitchen and wash some dishes, best believe the first song I'm queuing up is Honey, I'm Good. I can't wait. One of the hardest parts for grief for me has been the idea of feeling alone, right? So I live alone in my apartment, and it's not that I spend so much time alone, but there are some times when I'm here and I'm just like, I feel so alone. And that's because a lot of times, I mean, the people that I have over here the most are Jared, and then my brother will come over here a decent amount. And so sometimes when both of them are not here, it's weird. Like, I'm used to being here by myself, and I do like being myself, but there are some times where it's like a painful reminder of, you know, my brother's not here, my boyfriend's not here, I have no friends that can come over, and my mom is dead. And sometimes it's like, there are very stark reminders that not so much that I'm alone in this world, because I'm not alone. One of the things that I think has been beautiful to come from grief is how support has come from every facet of my life that I can imagine. I have friends that, you know, my best friends from college all came to the funeral, and even if they couldn't, I wouldn't feel some type of way, but, like, they came up. I've had friends from school, you know, checking in on me sometimes and just saying, like, hey, I'm just, you know, happy to see that it looks like you're doing okay, things of that nature. I've had people that, like, really, we aren't even friends like that. But if I post about how I'm having a shit day and talk about how much I miss my mom, they'll reach out and let me know, you know, things are going to be okay. And that's just on the friend side. You know, family-wise, I have so many family members that obviously have swarmed in just to make sure that me and my brother are doing okay. Even though me and my brother are very much not the type of people to, that's actually one of the hardest things at first for me, and still kind of is, this idea of people saying like, oh, let me know if you need anything. That's an impossible thing to do. I'm never going to tell anyone that I need anything. It's just not in my nature. I'm so bad at asking for help, but that's something I try and get better with in life, because sometimes, you know, the kind of adult that I want to be is one that, like, because I know for me it's really hard to ask for help, so I want to be that person that helps someone even if they say they don't need it. You know what I'm saying? But that's a whole other thing. Going back to what's been difficult for me is not so much feeling alone, but feeling lonely in times of when I really need it. One of the first times I really felt like that is when I moved into this apartment. So we moved from a townhouse, and then I had to move into an apartment, right? And I had this lovely, lovely brown couch. Now, there's not a single bit of furniture when you're furnishing an apartment. Like, there's nothing that costs what you think it should cost. Everything is a lot more expensive, including couches and stuff. And I just knew, I was like, oh, it's going to be so cool. Like, I'm going to have a couch in my first apartment. It's going to be great, because that's like a huge expense I won't have to worry about. My apartment building hallways, like the stairways, are so narrow, you guys. Like, you couldn't believe it. Like, you would not, even if you saw it with your own eyes, you would not believe how narrow the hallways are. And this was like a full-size couch. It was a 3-cushion couch. Honestly, to put it in here, I'm not going to lie, it might have taken up a lot of space. So, in hindsight, I'm happy that I wasn't able to fit that couch in here, but it does still kind of hurt, mainly because I couldn't even sell that couch. I had to just get rid of it, because nobody would buy it. Anyway, the couch couldn't fit in here, so I was like, okay, I guess I have to go couch hunting. I don't like when I hear noises upstairs and they sound like they're right in my apartment. That gives me the creeps. I tried 2 different couches from Bob's Furniture. I'm putting y'all on blast. No, I tried two different couches, and neither one of them fit. Or was it 3? Either way, I tried a number of different things and none of them fit. When that third or second option didn't work, I could not put into words how dejected I felt. Like, I felt mentally fatigued from this. And like on paper, it's so what, Shamira? You can't find a couch to fit in here. You'll find something eventually. But internally, what it had felt like is I'd done this big thing. I want to get settled in a place now, because I've had to move out of my home that I lived in with my mom and my brother for X amount of years. And I need to move somewhere else because I can't afford to live in that place anymore because my mom has passed. I want to make this new place my home. And this one thing is stopping me from making my house a home. And if I don't make this place feel like a home, I will never feel comfortable with why I had to move out. You know what I'm saying? And for context, and maybe I didn't explain this right, me and my mom were on the lease of that townhouse that we were renting. My landlord was very gracious to let us stay there, not paying rent for a little bit of time. But after a while, she was like, hey, I love y'all dearly, but y'all got to hit the bricks. No problem at all. When I moved, and I just in general am someone who likes to furnish a place really quickly. That's like one of my biggest, that's one of the, go back to my first episode, immutable parts about me. I want to make a place that I'm going to be in for a long time as comfortable as possible. So in addition to that, the idea of subconsciously, I'm trying to make this place feel more comfortable because of the fact that I have to live somewhere else now because my mom has passed away. And not that that's a bad thing. I wanted to move out, but because of the circumstances, it made it harder for me. And so I wanted to make this place a place where I could start to feel comfortable with the idea of I'm a woman who has to live on their own because of these circumstances. And the fact that that wasn't happening was so devastating to me. And Laura, I broke down that day. I told my supervisor, I said, I'm not working for the rest of the day. I'm using sick time. Don't fucking talk. No, I didn't say that. But I was just I need to go. I went to IKEA. I think I went to McDonald's first. I got myself a Coke, which I never drink straight soda, but I got myself a Coke, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go couch hunting. And I found these chairs. I love these chairs so much. They're very comfortable. Shout out to you, IKEA. But I remember once I made that decision, I came back home. I took off my outside clothes and I laid down on my bed. And my boyfriend came over. And I was literally laying on this side of the bed. And he comes and stands on the side of the bed and he's just talking to me. And I'm just bawling my eyes out. And I think the reason that I'd been so emotional is because I felt so alone. Because I know that if my mom was here, She would have helped me measure things. She would, like, I just feel like she would have had the foresight to be like, measure this to make sure this can fit here. But because there was so much going on, I just didn't have the wherewithal to remind myself that I actually have to take measurements of shit. It pissed me off so bad. Like, I was just so emotionally distraught. Those are moments for me when I feel that grief, like, is really weighing on me heavy. Today's Mother's Day, like I said. A lot of people texted me and said, I'm thinking about you today. And I appreciate that. I really do. But for me, it's never on the days, like, it's never on Mother's Day. It's never on her birthday. It's never on the anniversary of her passing that I feel these heavy emotions. Like, if anything, those moments feel very reflective of me to be like, I'm thinking about the woman that she was. And I'm thinking about the woman I want to become. And I'm thinking about all the lessons that she's taught me and how I can continue to apply those in my life. But it's moments like that when I've tried 3 separate times to get a couch to fit through my door and I couldn't. And I'm so overwhelmed because I don't know what to do. And I just want this place to feel comfortable so that I can start feeling comfortable about my situation. It's moments that I'm having at work where I'm feeling alone and isolated because of an incident that happened. And I struggle with speaking up for myself, despite me being a very vocal person, despite me knowing when something is wrong, knowing when someone's done some fuck shit. I struggle with being able to speak for myself. And I know that my mother has never struggled with that. So it's moments like this where I'm like, I just wish that I could hear her voice specifically tell me what I need to say, because I don't know what to say in these moments. And I'm crying in all of my coworkers' offices because I feel so alone. I feel so isolated and I don't know what to do. It's moments like that where I truly feel that weight of grief weighing down on me. That's been one of the hardest parts of it all, is how do I stop from feeling isolated? And so, you know, and God bless all the friends that have helped me through this most recent conflict with me. They don't understand. Like, I've told them, like, thank you so much for helping me with this because I struggle with doing this, but they don't know actually how much of a, we'll say, void that they've helped fill by helping me find the words and helping me find the motivation and the courage to stand up for myself, because it's really fucking hard to do. But yeah, that's been one of the hardest parts for me, is trying to not feel lonely in a world where, you know, people can't look at me and tell that I've lost my mom. So when they see me struggling with something in the grocery store, they're just like, oh, here's another manic 27-year-old crying over bagels in the grocery store. Not that that's happened, but you know, it's one of those things where it's like, no one knows what you're going through. And that is what makes it so much harder. It's not like you can, you know, we're not in some video game where, like, people have indicators on their head, like, oh, this person has a cat and this person's right-handed and this person lost their mom. So it makes it that much more harder in life to go around with it. But such is life. Such is life. Wow. That was very open and honest of me. I'm, like, very proud of myself. I think this might be the most vulnerable I've been on the podcast. I guess I just feel so comfortable around you. Anyway, you guys, thanks for listening. I hope you all enjoyed. We are back for season 2, and I can't wait to see what else is coming. But I'll see you all later. Be safe out there. Be kind to yourselves. I love ya. Bye.
Realer than real.